It was June 7, 2015. The sun was beginning to set over the peaceful countryside of Blomberg, Sweden. The soft golden light spilled across quiet roads and rustic barns. For 17-year-old Lisa Holm, this was supposed to be a small beginning, her first solo commute home after work. A simple summer job at a cozy café, a gift of independence from her father, a new moped. Her world was opening up, and then she vanished. Lisa had just texted her father at 6:23 p.m., "On my way home." There was no sign of concern in her voice. In fact, minutes later, she pocket-dialed him. He could hear laughter, the sound of her co-workers finishing the day, chatting, unaware it was the last time any of them would hear Lisa's voice. She never made it home. By 7:30 p.m., her parents' worry turned to panic. Calls to Lisa's phone went unanswered, then straight to voicemail. Her father jumped in the car and retraced the route she would have taken. When he reached the cafe, he saw her moped. Relief washed over him. For a second, the keys were still in the ignition, and Lisa was gone. What happened in that short window of time, between "I'm leaving now" and the moment her scooter sat abandoned, would become one of Sweden's most haunting cases of recent memory. Police arrived quickly. Initial searches of the cafe grounds and surrounding buildings yielded nothing, but everyone who knew Lisa was certain she hadn't run away. She had been taken. A few hundred meters away, in a nearby barn, investigators found a glove, one of Lisa's, but something didn't sit right. The barn had already been searched the night before, including by police dogs. So, how had the glove appeared now? The glove had been handed to police by a farm worker. The chain of custody was unclear, compromising any potential DNA evidence. But its presence escalated the case from a missing person to a full-scale abduction. More personal items soon surfaced: her mobile phone, smashed, broken apart, a metro ticket, old receipts, a phone case, all scattered along a remote gravel path only locals would know. It painted a disturbing picture. Someone had taken her, and then deliberately tried to erase her. But Lisa's disappearance gripped the entire nation. On June 10th, police revealed her name publicly. By June 11th, more than 1,000 people had joined the search. It was the largest civilian search party Sweden had ever seen, and it would be the persistence of volunteers, not police, that cracked the case wide open. A small group revisited an area already checked: Martorp Farm. It sat just a few kilometers from the cafe. Two men approached them, urging them not to waste time, claiming the place had been searched. But something felt wrong. Volunteers called the police. Officers arrived and swept the area again. In the tall grass behind the farm, something caught their attention: Lisa's helmet. Then, under a pile of twigs, her jacket and earphones. And nearby, a trailer. It was a small wooden structure, weather-worn, the kind you wouldn't look at twice. But when officers entered, the smell hit them first. Inside, tucked into a locker, partially clothed, rope around her neck, duct tape over her face, was Lisa Holm. She had been murdered and hidden like a discarded object. The shock rippled across Sweden. For days, people had held on to hope. But now, the truth was far worse than anyone imagined. Police moved fast. On June 12th, they arrested a 35-year-old man, Nerijus Bilevicius, a Lithuanian national who worked as a laborer at both Martorp Farm and the barn near the cafe. He lived just meters from the gravel road where Lisa's belongings were found. He wasn't alone. His wife and brother, Ivarus, were also taken into custody. At first, all three denied everything. They gave each other alibis. They pretended not to know Lisa. But evidence doesn't lie. Inside the barn's milking room, police found rope stained with Lisa's DNA. In the upstairs office, they found DNA belonging to Nerijus, along with signs of self-gratification, left on the window overlooking the cafe courtyard. Lisa's co-workers remembered seeing him, watching from the barn, multiple times. And then his brother cracked. Ivarus admitted his brother had behaved strangely the night Lisa disappeared. He returned home, threw his clothes into the washing machine, and told Ivarus to lie if police came asking. When police searched Nerijus's computer, the motive came into sharp, horrific focus. His hard drive was filled with violent adult films, many depicting scenes of women being restrained and suspended. eerily similar to how Lisa had been found. He had tried to recreate his fantasies, and Lisa was his victim. But still, Nerejus insisted on his innocence. "I never met this girl. I only saw her face in the news. I am a father too." Words that rang hollow in a courtroom, flooded with grief and horror. The prosecution argued Lisa had been kidnapped, brought into the barn, gagged, and then hanged from the pipe in the milking room. Though the autopsy showed she hadn't been sexually violated, male DNA was found on her clothes. Lisa died as he gratified himself, his fantasies playing out as her life slipped away. After the murder, he moved her body, hid her, scattered her belongings, tried to clean the evidence, tried to go back to normal. But evil always leaves traces. On November 17, 2015, Nerejus Bilevicius was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. His brother and wife were released. For a time, it seemed justice had been served. But that wasn't the end. On August 3, 2022, inside a Swedish prison, Nerejus was attacked by another inmate. A sharp object pierced his neck. He died. Was it justice? Or just another layer of violence in an already monstrous story? There was one final twist that gripped the online world. Before Lisa's disappearance, a strange YouTube video had surfaced. Titled 13, it featured a cryptic countdown. The channel name? Lisa Holm. The timing was chilling. The video was posted exactly 13 days before Lisa disappeared. Had the killer posted it? Was it a taunt? Theories swirled, but police eventually uncovered the truth. It was a hoax. The video title and channel name had been changed after her disappearance, by someone seeking clicks, not justice. Even in death, Lisa's name had been exploited. But what stood tall against the cruelty, what no one could erase, was the dignity and power of a community that refused to stop looking. Volunteers who ignored dismissive warnings, parents who never gave up, officers who followed the trail, piece by painful piece. Lisa Holm was 17 years old. She had dreams, she had kindness, she had her whole life in front of her. And in minutes it was stolen, not by a monster in the shadows, but a man hiding in plain sight, watching, waiting, fantasizing. And when the opportunity came, he took it. Not because Lisa did anything wrong, but because evil doesn't need a reason. There's something especially cruel about this case, something that scratches at the deepest part of our humanity. Because Lisa wasn't reckless, she wasn't out at night alone, she wasn't in a dangerous city, she was just living. And still, it wasn't enough to protect her. So, maybe the lesson here isn't just about vigilance. It's about how monsters aren't always strangers in alleyways. Sometimes they're behind windows. Sometimes they're your coworker. Sometimes they smile back at you. Lisa Holm deserved to live, and as long as we remember her, the real her, the kind girl who loved animals and laughed with customers and texted her dad she'd be home soon, then her story doesn't end in that locker. It begins with the people who refuse to forget her, and in that, at least, there's a sliver of light.